Hey everybody, Dr. Albert Snow here. I'm a holistic gastroenterologist, 40 years of healing conditions like IBS, colitis, Crohn's, and I did say the word heal for 40 years. You probably never heard of me before. That's because I haven't been running around trying to make myself famous. I've been in the trenches with my sleeves rolled up, dealing with people who are bleeding from the butt and stuff like that, all the dirty work. Although I love it, I've never really had a normal conversation in probably 40 years. I'm dealing with people who are crying all the time, and everybody's crestfallen when they get the inaccurate diagnosis in many cases. Now, we're a few minutes early today. I have been advised that sometimes I have trouble launching this show because I'm not bad technologically with the things I know. Once I know it, I know it. But I'm 69 years old, not as good as I think I am probably, but so instead of struggling at 4 o'clock and saying, I'll be right with you folks, I thought I'd come on early and tell a story, make sure I'm being heard and everything's all right and warmed up, and then at 4 o'clock we'll start with the serious stuff. But I need to have this storytelling time for myself, for my own sanity, because of what I've done for 40 years. I mean, every phone call, every email, it's blood and gore, I had never met anybody that I'm not talking to about their butt, so I need this relief. So let me tell you a story that I think is funny. And one of the things you're going to have to realize, if you're going to be working with me, you're going to have to tolerate these stories that I'm the only one that thinks they're funny. I tell my family, and they go, "What?" They just turn and walk away. So you can turn and walk away for 5 minutes if you're not interested. But this will tell you a little bit about what I dealt with before I started treating inflammatory bowel conditions. I had these little health food stores way back when there were hardly any around. And what I used to do was, when CVS and these big stores came rolling out, they would just steamroll all the local pharmacies in these smaller towns, and I would just move in with my health food store, and I'd take stuff from the one store, half of it, move it over to the next one, and I put an office in the back for me to at that time, at the very beginning, starting my practice. So it was kind of cool. But I had this first store that was in an ancient, kind of a antique almost, because it was an antique store at one time. Really cool little building, and we had a nice little business, and people coming and going. And one day, there was probably half a dozen people in there, and it was one of those times when you've all experienced it, when somebody obviously farted. There was no doubt about it. It was heavy, man. It's like you almost had, it was like syrupy. You've seen those, smelled those. It's hard to even move. And I noticed it, and I saw the other people in the room with their shirts up over their nose, and I had this young kid, 20. He had just come in. He'd never seen him before, and he was a hippie, and he was trying to show me something about like a wooden pipe. He must smoke hash in it or something, and he made it with a nail. I mean, it was a weird little. I'm like, yeah. So the purpose of this was, obviously, I had a business, but prior to that, the purpose was to just have experiences with people. Back in that time, most of the people that came to health food stores were kind of wacky, And I had a bookstore downstairs for the purpose of, I carried really weird books, metaphysical stuff and stuff about yoga and anything wild stuff. And as a matter of fact, the town I was in was trying to put me out of business. They thought I was practicing witchcraft just by selling herbs and things. So I used to put up a sign, if you're weird, come in here, and way before the internet. So it had a crowd. I had a guy in there he had an acoustic guitar, and he showed up every day, never asked him to do so, never told him not to do so. He used to sing Bye Bye American Pie. He'd serenade my customers just over and over. He never sang any other song. This was probably 4 or 5 years straight. Every day, whenever I'd point at him and say, "Listen, I'm trying to talk to somebody," he would just mouth it. He'd keep playing, just very, very soft. I said to him, "I don't want to hear that, man," and he just played real soft. So that was Paul Pelletier, I think his name was. So we had that kind of scene going on. So somebody obviously farted, and I'm like, "Wow!" I just said, "Freeze! Everybody stop!" And I went around the room and I pointed at each person and said, "Did you fart?" And they were like, "No, no." How if somebody asked you. I don't. Did anybody ever ask you if you farted? I think I know what your reaction would be. You'd say no. So, well, no. You need regular people just trying to do shopping, but this is somebody dropped a bomb in here. So I go to the next one. You, red shirt. did you fart? No, no. Are you sure? Have you eaten any beans or anything recently? No, I haven't. I had seafood last night. Okay. So I said, it doesn't smell like seafood. So I went around the room, you, and you. Everyone said no. So I get this hippie kid here. I don't even know. He just walked in. So I said, was it you? And he's smiling and stuff. And I go, what? I go, what's the story? Are you tripping or something? He said, actually, yes, I am. He made this homemade acid from some kind of poppy seeds, I think, and they keep them. I don't know how they make it. It was in his freezer. He said, the place he was staying. And so I was like, wow, this is another sub-story happening. Remember, I'm in this place primarily to have experiences with crazy people and try to set it up and orchestrate it. So I said, so what's your name? He said, Ron. So I said, you sure? Yeah, I go, Ron. He goes, did you fart? Because I said, everybody said no, and it's down to you, man. And he goes, he's looking at me. He's got this weird smile, but I realized that was just his face. And later on, I knew him more. And he goes, yeah, yeah, I guess so. So I said, did you fart? He goes, yeah, sure. So I said, all right. I said, you're disgusting and some things like that. And I said, you are all free to move around now the best you can. If you want to step outside, welcome to do so. So, everybody left and Ron's still standing there. So I said, man, you're disgusting. You farted like that. He says, well, yeah, I'm sorry. So I said, okay, well, days go by, and probably a month goes by, and some of these people had come and gone, and there was a sort of nod, like, I remember that experience, yeah. So I said, thank you for not farting in my store, and so Ron is there every day. He's kind of like at the edge of the counter, and so I just talked to him a little bit and ignore him a lot, and just he was tripping all the time. So this guy comes in that was in that room the day of the fart, and we still call it that. And then, I noticed before he had been in, he didn't have a shirt on. And then he came in again a month later. This is January, February, no shirt. So I remembered, I said, hey, you were in here before, man, on the fart day. He says, yeah. He said, I just want to tell you. He said, I came in to tell you that it was me who farted. I felt guilty, it's nothing worse than not acknowledging my mother brought me up to be truthful. He said, I farted. So I turned to Ron. I said, Ron, what did you do? I said, someone else farted and you took responsibility for it. You said, yep, that's me. I said, who does that, man? I mean, I don't know. I couldn't think ever of an example of somebody would do that. I mean, would anyone listening to the story right now, if I pointed to you and said, was it you? Did you fart? You know what you'd say. You'd say no, even if it was you. So I gave Johnny, this guy's name wasn't in her shirt. He turned out to be, his name is Johnny, and he had a cleaning business, so we call him Johnny Clean. And he was all over town. He was up on a ladder in front of my store when it was snowing, with cleaning windows at this very top part of the front of the building. And he had no shirt on. I saw him for 5 years. He never had a shirt on. He cleaned houses and he didn't wear a shirt. So, and it was funny because he was a kind of goofy, as you can tell. And when he, after he cleaned your house, he gave you, trying to promote his business, he'd give you a shirt that said Johnny Clean on it, because I'd given him the name. He turned it into, a little business name. And so I said, Johnny, you had to wear one of your own shirts. I'd be wasting it. He said, I'll give it to someone else. So Ron, I said, Ron, man, you're telling me you took responsibility for that fart. You knew it wasn't you. And he said to me, he kind of shrugged his shoulders. He says, well, I thought maybe it slipped out, So I said, I tell you what, man, anybody that can take responsibility in front of other people for someone else's fart, it wasn't even yours, you got to hang out with me. I said, you got to be like my best friend. You got to be right beside me all the time, because that's the coolest. I said, well, you doing acid? He said, I'm doing acid right now. I said, you do acid every day? He said, yeah. So I said, well, that's got to be the secret. But I said, you got to hang out with me. And he did. It turned out he was like a genius kind of handyman guy. I told him anything. I had I had a store and an office, and I had 3 stores right there in an office. And he just became the maintenance guy. And I said, you hammer his nails? He goes, I don't know anything about that. I said, well, hammer that thing over there. Put that light up there. And he just did it. And then the last part of the story is that I pulled into the driveway where this business was in the back one day, and Ron's got his van, a hippie van, and I said, "What are you doing, man?" He was sitting on like a milk crate. He said, "I'm doing a brake job." I said, "Oh, where's the tools?" He says, holds up a butter knife. He goes, "Right here." I mean, he wasn't like, he just assumed, well, what's the matter? So I go, "You're doing a brake job with a butter knife?" He goes, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, good luck." And he was out there for 2 or 3 days, and he did the brake job, and he was driving his van around. And so that's what we had in our stores. We had people, I don't know, somebody would play the flute. We had a guy that would read poetry standing on his head, for long periods of time too. We had, I don't know, people that would paint themselves for no reason green or something. And we had people that claimed they were from other planets, and they fully believed it. And I said, "Well, hey, hang out, sit over there, come in every day." And it was a zoo. It was so bad that we had a crew, man. And my wife, when she would drive by, she'd look the other way. She never looked at our store for years. I was there for 30 years. She never looked at it. She just looked away because she didn't want us to see anything. We had people, clown suits and everything else. I never directed anybody to do anything. I just, I had my own. My part was to orchestrate things. I'd say, "You need to meet you over here." Some people I introduced got married. One group, Ron, started a rock band with another guy, and it was really cool. So listen, we're at 4 o'clock now. Thank you for tolerating my story. It was a way for me to warm up a little bit and make sure that the dial here is working. So I'm going to take some questions. This is always the biggest challenge for me, is to get the chat window up so the questions can come rolling in. And I just keep pushing stuff. Even though it took all that time to tell a story, I just keep hitting the things until I see a chat. So anyways, until I get that straightened out, I don't think anybody's on there asking questions yet. I have quite a long list of questions that people have asked me that have never gotten answered. And as I sit here waiting to figure out how to get the chat open and read the questions, if there are any, I'm going to just read some of the typical questions I get during the week that people say, "Hey, can you address this on question and answer day or whenever?" And so it's right from the top. What are we looking at here? Oh, someone asked me to explain the concept of capacity. I'm always mentioning capacity. Well, that's a very important concept. I could have probably used a better term, but for me it's capacity. What's that mean? Say I'm treating you, and you do good for, say, 2 weeks, and you say, "I'm fantastic," and then you call me up crying because you're bleeding, and that lasts for a week or something. I'll say, "Well, listen, we know about the bleeding and all that, but here's the good news. You've shown capacity." Now, what do I mean by capacity? You've shown the ability to function at a high level, where for a week or 2 weeks, whatever, you are not bleeding, you are not showing any signs of, or much less signs, and that's your capacity. That's your potential level that you actually reach. So say we have a car, we bought an old car and it's supposed to go 100 miles an hour back in the day, and we keep on fine-tuning it and trying to get it to go 100, we can't get it, and we start thinking, this car doesn't have the capacity to go 100, we're just going to have to be happy with 90. And then, you tighten down some screws, and then one day it goes 100, even 101. You say, wow, we reached our capacity. And so for you, the fact that you are operating at a high capacity, that's your true level. We just have to get it so you're there all the time. So you should be only a little bit disheartened when somebody, when you have a bleeding or something you hadn't had for a while, or even something you hadn't seen before, you got to say, that sucks. But then you got to remember, oh, my capacity is up here. I function at this level, because it would be impossible for you to function at that level if it wasn't who you are. A football coach from the New England Patriots, I forget his name right now, not Belichick. He had a team when he was coaching the Patriots. He was starting to get them from being the worst to eventually the best. He had a season where they kept on losing by 1 point in these games. And the press in an interview was trying to get him to keep saying, well, we're really better. A lot of coaches would have said, we're really better than a team that's 1-3. And he said, no, we are who we are. We're not good enough to get that last point. So with you, we flip that around and say you are who you are. You are your highest point. When you have reached it, even if it's one day, even if it's for a minute, that means that's your potential. That's the real you. All right. So along with that is something I've called click. I don't have a better name for it yet. I will after I say it enough times. Click means that when we're working with you and we're looking for something to click, you might notice I switch dosages. I say take this one, don't take that one, up, down. It may seem like I'm making it up. Maybe I am sometimes. It's just I'm trying to find a combo that works. And so we're looking for a click, which means that you have at least 3 days of good functioning, better than you were. That tells us, oh, we have a mini trend, we're doing something right, something clicked. And then from there, we keep upping the game. We said we want a click at a higher level. And so we're looking for a click on the way to our capacity. And all the people I treat, the only ones who are limited in capacity, the ones who have had surgery, that not everybody that has surgery has a limit, but some do. And they'll tell me, I mean, if we don't have a colon, we're not going to be able to function at a high level there, but we can do other things with you. I mean, a lot of people, after they have surgery, they're still bleeding, they still have mucus, they still have pain, and as long as there's something there, there's flesh and there's a blood vessel coming there. So you put stuff in the blood vessel that you know the tissue is made out of. As long as there's a connection between tissue and a blood vessel, there's oxygen being delivered. And I'll comment about oxygen. Some conditions are that we have that are considered painful, like a headache. Those are due to a lack of blood flow. And what's that all about? Lack of oxygen. Lack of oxygen. So that if you were to take a string and tie it around your finger, tight, you know what would happen. It would start to hurt because you shut off the circulation. What really happened here? Lack of oxygen. The body will scream bloody murder if you don't have oxygen, and it does that with pain. So what we do is we do things like give you ginkgo biloba, which delivers the blood to the it's a dilator, opens up the blood vessels and pushes the blood to say an extremity. Men who have ED, is that what it's called? ED should use something like that. They want to increase the blood flow. So I don't know if their penis hurts enough from the lack of oxygen. I haven't experienced that yet. But you need to get blood flow to places so that you have oxygen and things that are in that blood that the tissue is made out of. So nature has a wisdom that if you break the big toe in your right foot and you start taking calcium with magnesium, it's going to be delivered to that foot on the right side to that toe. We don't know how it does that. Maybe we'll never know. But you take advantage of it when you're a naturopath. You take advantage of it. So let me see if I can do a little more clicking here. I'm not seeing any questions coming in because I messed up my screen. So I'm going to probably keep talking while I talk. My screen just disappeared, so I don't see anything now. So let me just answer another question while I futz around here. Should you eat 3 big meals a day or lots of small ones? Okay, that depends on who you are, what we're doing. If you have the mucosal lining set up properly, okay, the probiotic and colostrum, you can do anything you want. There are no dietary rules. You can eat whatever you want. Here's my screen back. You can eat whatever you want in any time, any combination. That's why it's all about the mucosal lining, my friends. If you have it, there's no rules. Okay, so if you don't have it, and you have anything, gastritis, you have gastritis is just another word for ulcers. If you have some kind of inflammatory bowel, you don't want to eat a lot of meals because you're releasing that much more acid. You're releasing acid is not. I hate to say acid's our enemy because acid's acid. It's our friend. It's innocent. It's inanimate. It's not trying to hurt us. You don't have too much acid. You have too little protective mucosal lining. And so, and I see a question about ibuprofen here I'm going to respond to in a minute. But if you eat a lot of meals when you have an inflammatory bowel condition, it's going to keep on burning itself, including This is the one that gets me, that I hadn't thought about till recently. All the water we're supposed to drink. Water, water, water. Everybody's walking around with water. Drink the water, drink the water, drink the water. How many gallons of water, right? Water, water, water. And when you swallow water, you still have to release acid. Not a lot. But say you're working on an ulcer and you're drinking all that water. You're going to be saying on the treadmill at the gym next to your friend, hey man, how come my stomach is hurting worse than it was? Well, it's because you're drinking too much water. It's not the water, it's the release of acids. So one of the ways you can tell that you are burning your gut up is if you have to swallow a lot. If you produce a lot of saliva, and then you have to swallow a lot, the body wants that water down. But the problem is that saliva is acidic, and so you're hurting yourself more. You need to just drink enough water to, like I'm going to right now, to not be thirsty. Hold on. Can't get enough. Hold on. Okay, so no, you want to, and intermittent fasting, that's one that comes up. You got to watch out. Intermittent fasting is when you skip a meal or part of a day, you don't eat until noontime, don't eat breakfast. That's cool, but you got to remember that your body is still releasing acids the whole day, whether you eat or not. And then when you don't have any bulk going into your stomach, you're gonna, that the bulk, like say, imagine bread, is like a sponge soaking up some of the acid. So now you have acid that's being released, but nothing's soaking it up. So then you say, well, I can't win. Well, you can win just by doing normal things, just not trying to be some extreme thing. And what's the most normal thing you can do? Build up your mucosal lining. I mean, I'm just amazed when I have an appointment with somebody and I'll tell them this, and they rave about how fantastic it is, and then I see them on the next day on social media doing something different. It just shocks me, and then they move on to the next thing and the next thing. It's just shocking. I'm telling you right now, folks, sooner or later, hopefully, you're going to realize it's all about the mucosal lining. And then from there, you can accomplish things. So I'm still not seeing my where my questions are. So I'm going to keep talking until I find it. And maybe Tammy or Kara, my friends, can give me a call and say, hey, push the button up on the left. I can't believe I'm not finding it. So it's every week or something, isn't it? At least hopefully you can hear me. Okay, another question that I was handed. Okay, can you eat before bed? Well, it's the same thing. If you have mucosal lining set up, you can break every supposed rule. The rules are set up for people who don't have the mucosal lining set up. They're sleeping on a, this one kills me. Sleeping on a, like a plank in bed so that their bed is on an angle. I couldn't sleep like that. That's because they don't have enough mucosal lining, not because they have too much acid. I can't have cucumbers before bed or, whatever. That's all because you don't have the mucosal lining set up. If you want to spend your life ducking and dodging and trying to, manipulate food, then you need to realize that that's all for naught. Because while you're not getting it healed and you're manipulating things, more damage is happening. When someone says, well, I'm on the fence, I don't know what I want to do, I'm waiting to hear from my doctor or my girlfriend in California and all this, well, guess what? Every meal you have, you're losing more flesh. So if you want to wait a month, you just dug a deeper hole, literally. Let's see. How about this one? Can you eat cooked corn? Can you eat cooked corn? Yes. Cook it well. And just be a little careful, don't eat mountains of it. Cooked corn is the heat. Again, when I tell people the low fiber diet, it's really the texture diet. We're eventually going to call it the texture diet because that's all it is. A patient said that to me one day. So it's all about texture. I said, that's it. That's the new name for the diet. It's all about roughness. I have this conversation most every day. I had it yesterday with a nice guy whose son, he's still struggling with some discomfort. And they say, we got him no meat. We got him just the grass-fed, the chicken eggs and the free range. And I said, that's nice, but it has nothing to do with this. Have them eat a bunch of Three Musketeer bars or something. Has nothing to do with it. We think we mix the fact that something is healthy and not healthy with the idea of what do I have to do if I have an inflamed bowel. I'm still waiting. I say it in a friendly way. I'm asking somebody to challenge me and tell me I'm wrong. See, the rule we have that either above or below, however, whatever you want to put it, beyond just a low fiber, is what works for you. I've had people tell me I eat all the salads I want and it doesn't bother me. I said, there you go. That's your number one rule. If it's true about you, if you're being honest with yourself. So I tell people, I've told kids this on the phone with their parents, go get 2 ice cream cones for yourself, will you? Maybe don't eat the cone. It's a little bit crunchy. But these foods don't have anything to do with whether you're going to heal your gut or not. You might want to be concerned about, hey, listen, it might affect my kid another way. But short term, even that, short term, you're, you have a few Kit Kat bars or something. People pin themselves down. They assume, when they come to me, I have to deprogram them. They assume that, hey, we have to cut all these things out. And I'll say, well, let me ask you this. I have something called a law of obviousness. Let's put it to the test. When you eat cheesecake, does anything happen that's negative? No, I don't know. If I say, how about dairy? And if you pause for a second, that means there isn't a problem, because you'd be so ready with the answer, saying every time I have that, I have diarrhea. Well, so think about that. Are the things you're cutting out, do you have any history of having a problem with it? Or is it just that you read about it? These goofy books, the GAP diet and the, I don't know, what is it? I forget the SCD diet and all, SCD and all that. That's bullshit. All they're doing is they're giving you a way to juggle things and avoid the issue. Okay, the longer you go, those books are not designed to get you off of anything. It's like I told a poor guy today, I said, your doctor is not trying to heal you, because the doctor doesn't believe you can be healed. So these people who sell these books, they're not sinister. They just don't know. They haven't gone back far enough. See, when I figured this thing out, the GI Cure, I went all the way back. I kept on going back and back and back all the way to the breast. Imagine that, saying I went all the way to the breast. The nursing process with mammals. I said, I don't think there's anything prior to that. So if there is, maybe I'll discover that too. Somebody can point that out to me. But the point is that these people writing these books, they found something that worked for them. What worked for them? If they don't eat this, that, and that, and that, and that, they do okay. So I say, is that healing? Oh no, this condition can't be healed. Oh man, come on. So that's your reality, and people are buying your book and they're buying into that bullshit. No, it can be healed. And you ask the people who I treat. There's another point I want to make is that I heal a lot of people. That's not supposed to be possible. So say we heal you just a little bit. That's a miracle. It's not supposed to happen. In what context is it a miracle? The medical world will tell you it's impossible. All over the internet, impossible. Oh yeah, well she's not. She's only having 4 trips to the bathroom at night instead of 10. That's a miracle. Okay, and we're doing it in a legitimate way, not balancing our eating only certain carbohydrates and mixing our food with all greens, and then over here, we got squash and all that bullshit. If that's what you need, that means you have a prior problem. You can't like live avoiding stuff. What kind of quality of life you're going to have, and how many nutrients are you missing out on? I'm still trying to find you folks in the chat. I'm clicking on chat. Something changed. So, I'm going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to keep on finding. If we have to run late to answer some questions, we will. Hey, I'm seeing something now. Okay, what am I seeing here? Looks like I'm tuned into someone else's chat somehow. So I'll find it. Come on, give me a break. So let's answer another question. Maybe we'll get lucky, answer one of your questions. What about ibuprofen? Yes. That's something I say, yes. That's one of the problems. You want to go with Tylenol. Now, I know ibuprofen and such work better for some people, but you got to balance it out. And you got to understand what you're really doing. If you have the full complement of mucosal lining, you could eat ibuprofen all day, any aspirin type products. It's not the ibuprofen, it's the lack of mucosal lining that's allowing the ibuprofen to make contact with the skin of the bowel wall. It's not the product itself, it's the lack of protection. And I had fun with one day. I said, I'll have an aspirin eating contest with you any day, because I think I have to be tied at least for the world's thickest mucosal lining. I started building this back in the 70s. I made it until a couple of years ago without an antibiotic, and I had, I didn't know at the time exactly what it was. I had bit by a tick, and I tell you what, I felt miserable for, 48 hours. I was like, I think I'm actually dying, or I wouldn't want to live like this. So and this is when we love antibiotics, is that I finally showed my wife. I said, what's going on with my back? She said, you got a big bullseye there. I said, thanks. So I waited. See, once in a while, if I have to go to the emergency room, I've gone for various crazy things. I infected a hangnail one time. So I always go up, because I don't sleep much, I go up like at 2 in the morning to try to avoid the crowd, because where I live, it's mayhem. So I go up there and I get an antibiotic, go next door to the drugstore, and it seemed like within minutes, within an hour, that whole feeling went away. So I gave in to have antibiotics, but I always tell people, don't fight it. I mean, I didn't fight it. I wouldn't want to be in the couch suffering. Give me the antibiotic. I'll cut in line if I need one. So, and when you do, you backfill with the probiotic and colostrum. It's a solution that's just there. You know what I mean? We were already doing it. I was already giving people probiotics and colostrum years ago, and they'd say in the middle of it, hey, I got to take an antibiotic. What do I do? I said, just keep doing the protocol. We're already back shoveling anyways. So let's see if I can find it. I'm looking at weird stuff here. I got the World Series on my screen. What else do we have here? We don't have you, so I'm just going to keep clicking stuff. Oh, don't want that. I don't need that. Another question. What about what else she got here? Oh, what about colonics? Colonics. You know that, where they put a hose up your butt and they hydrate your stool, and then it comes pouring out and all through the pipe, and that's what, a lot of times people have those if they are having obstructions. Okay, story of that is they're great for what you got to do initially. You're really backed up, put a hose up your butt, crank up the faucet, get the water in there, let it all come out. That's great. But if you think that's a solution to anything, it isn't, because you're washing it out, but you're not fixing it, because what you need is you need to have peristaltic motion. It means the bowel muscles, 26 feet, needs to be strong. And when you do that, if you only do that, probably people who do colonic irrigation probably know this. But if it's just colonics as we know it, you're only going to be cleaning yourself out, and you'll be blocked up again tomorrow, next day. So if you're going to use the colonic, you want to follow up with fiber. You never take fiber unless you are cleaned out, because if you're blocked up and you take fiber, it's going to slam into that wall like a traffic jam, and you're going to feel worse. So that's what you want to do. You want to take anything like milk of magnesia is one of my favorites. Recently I've been using that. We use milk of magnesia, which is old-fashioned magnesium that was available in pharmacies, or what they had back, I think they called them pharmacies even way back. Anyways, that would be sold for constipation. It was just magnesium. People say, what's in the drugstore? It's magnesium, folks. Why do we use that? Because I can give you magnesium capsules, which you will use if you're being treated by me for constipation. I can use magnesium capsules, but it'll take like weeks to do what we want. We have to ramp up the amount of magnesium. We have to find out what your saturation point is. That's what it's called, bowel saturation. We have to bring you to the point where we're taking pills, where we say, wow, it's still got a little too loose. Okay, back down. That's the water saturation. What it does is it pulls water into the bowel. Well, milk of magnesia does that rapidly. We can accomplish in one afternoon what might take us 3 weeks to accomplish with the capsules. And I used the capsules all the time, with my patients for years. And then I said, the heck with it. In the middle of this thing, I'm very often prescribing, go get some milk and magnesia because it's not working fast enough, the capsules. And that's what I do all the time now. If you're constipated, it's not the solution. It's just like a colonic irrigation. It pulls water in and says, liquefies the stool, and it's all out. What happens the next time you eat something? Well, the next time you are going to get blocked up because your peristaltic motion didn't get corrected. You see, so you do milk and magnesia, and then once you're cleaned out, you come in with the fiber. You got to use the right kind of fiber. You got to use it strategically, and you have to use it like at the same time every day. You need consistency. The largest muscle in the body, the strongest and the most sensitive, that's the bowel. So I'm still struggling here, folks. What do we do? I think just to benefit you, I think I'm going to sign out and sign back in and see if I can recover it. So I think that's fair to the people who are trying to ask me questions, because I thought I had this mastered. I was going around, just strangers in the street said, I mastered it, man. I finally mastered it, and I don't see it. I'm clicking on chat box. Okay.